Back in the 1800s, the United States was like the underdog on the global scene, not so rich and not really a big deal. The US was one of the poorest countries in the world back then. Now let's jump to today and prepare to be amazed. That struggling colony has transformed into an absolute powerhouse, contributing 25% to the world's GDP. From being one of the poorest, the US is now the richest and most powerful nation. It's like going from having almost nothing to being on top of the world. This journey from British colony to world's leader shows how determined and clever the United States has been. It's a story of facing challenges, trying new things, and using innovation and hard work to turn things around.
Let me tell you something. The United States of America is the most powerful nation on earth.
The tools you need to prevent war and, if required, to fight war.
The United States is prepared no matter what happens. We are ready with diplomacy.
It all started on October 12, 1492. Christopher Columbus, searching for a western trade route on behalf of Spain, discovered some Caribbean islands near North America. This marked the first known European contact with the America, and the colonization of America started by the Europeans. During this time, Red Indians lived in America, and the process of colonization developed fairly quickly between 1492 to 1620, and number increased between the year 1620 to 1720. As more Europeans came to America, they needed more land for their growing settlements. Unfortunately, this meant that Native Americans were pushed off their lands. Imagine if you had a special place where you lived, and suddenly someone else came and said they needed it. That's what happened to many Native Americans. They were forced to move to specific areas called reservations as European settlers expanded their towns and farms. It was a challenging time for the Native Americans as their way of life was significantly affected. Throughout the period of colonization, millions of Native Americans were killed. It was a really tough time for their communities. The major colonizing nations were Spain, Portugal, Britain, and Netherlands. In land area, Spain's was the largest of the colonial empires in America. They established vast territories. In present day they are Mexico, Central and South America, and the Caribbean. On July 4, 1776, the American Revolution culminated in the Declaration of Independence, drafted primarily by Thomas Jefferson. The leaders of the 13 American colonies, including figures like John Adams and Benjamin Franklin, asserted their resolve to break free from British rule. The grievances outlined in the Declaration ranged from taxation without representation to infringement of basic rights. The Revolutionary War ensued, led by George Washington, and despite British resistance, the Treaty of Paris in 1783 officially recognized the United States as an independent nation, marking the end of a protracted struggle for freedom. This document declared the 13 American colonies independent from British rule, making the birth of United States as a separate and sovereign nation. An Independence Day is celebrated annually on July 4 to commemorate this historic event. And on May 25 to September 17, 1787, delegates draft the U.S. Constitution, creating a strong foundation for governance. George Washington became the first president and starts to create strong government. On April 30, 1803, U.S. purchased Louisiana Territory from France that nearly doubled the size of the United States. As U.S. was becoming larger in size, many states joined U.S. during this time. As states who were joined with U.S. were getting same freedom and democracy that several states of the U.S. were getting. And this was the reason why states like Florida, Illinois, and Ohio joined U.S. Texas, originally an independent nation, the Republic of Texas joined the United States in 1845. This annexation led to tensions with Mexico and played a role in outbreak of the Mexican-American War. The war lasted from 1846 to 1848. The U.S. Army won the war and Mexico lost half of its land, which included California, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, Utah, and parts of Colorado, Wyoming, Kansas, and Oklahoma, and also Mexico was not consoled by the monetary US wants to become big to show the power to the world, so US was expanding its territory. In 1867, US purchased Alaska from Russia. The acquisition added vast expansion of land to the US and proved to be rich in natural resources. US continues to expand its territories and experience significant success and growth. Between 1900 and 1945, US saw a massive boost in its economy. It's like the nation's economic engine went into overdrive, and a lot of things happened during this time. Two big events that shook up the world during this time were World War I and World War II. It's like the whole world was in motion, and these wars played a huge part in shaping the course of US history. During World War I, US pursued a policy of neutrality under President Woodrow Wilson. Countries like Germany, France, UK, Spain, Italy were all fighting among them, but US favored staying out of the conflict, although US was supplying weapons and other materials to its alliance nation. But on April 6, 1917, US officially entered into World War I. Germany's resumption of submarine attacks on passenger and merchant ship in 1917 became the primary motivation behind US' decision to participate in the war. The war ended on November 11, 1918 with the signing of an armistice. The war drove technological innovations, especially in the field of aviation and chemical industries. Also, US became more active in international affairs. And during World War II, Japan attacked US naval base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii on December 7, 1941. This attack led US to declare war on Japan and officially entering World War II. During World War II, US rapidly shifted its economy into war production, becoming known as the arsenal of democracy. American industries produced vast amount of military equipment, vehicles, weapons and supplies. The involvement of US in World War II marked a pivotal moment in history, and its contribution played a significant role in the defeat of the Axis powers. The United States played a crucial role in the establishment of the United Nations on October 24, 1945. As World War II came to an end, global leaders recognized the need for an international organization to promote peace and cooperation among nations. The U.S. delegation, led by President Franklin D. Roosevelt and later by President Harry S. Truman after Roosevelt's death, played a key role in shaping the United Nations Charter. The U.S. approach to other countries was diplomatic and collaborative. American diplomats actively engaged with representatives from various nations to build consensus on the principles and structure of the UN. The Dumbarton Oaks Conference in 1944 and the Yalta Conference in 1945 were crucial diplomatic meetings where the groundwork for the UN was laid, with significant U.S. involvement. The wartime industrial production transformed U.S. into a manufacturing powerhouse. U.S. was the only country that gained profit from the two wars. During both wars, the U.S. became a major supplier of weapons, equipment, and supplies to Allied forces. This surge in wartime production significantly boosted the American economy, creating jobs and stimulating growth. Post-World War II, the Marshall Plan further fueled economic recovery in war-torn Europe, providing a market for American goods. The wartime and post-war economic successes contributed to the U.S. emerging as an economic powerhouse, laying the foundation for its global influence and power. After the World War II, U.S. was emerged as one of the two superpower along with the Soviet Union. And the Cold War between U.S. and Soviet Union begins. U.S. and Soviet Union represented two contrasting ideologies, capitalism and communism, respectively. And this ideological conflict became a defining feature of the Cold War. Instead of direct confrontation, the Cold War saw proxy conflicts in various regions including the Korean War 1950–1953, the Vietnam War 1955–1975 and conflicts in the Middle East and Africa. In 1949, U.S. and its Western allies established the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. The main purpose of this organization was to provide collective security against the Soviet Union. The Cold War lasted till 1991. During the period of Cold War, both Soviet Union and U.S. engaged in a nuclear arms race, developing and stockpiling nuclear weapons. Also, they gained a series of achievements in space exploration. Both countries became much powerful during this period. And in the late 1990s and early 2000s, the USA experienced a big surge in technology. Companies like Apple, Microsoft, and Tesla revolutionized technology, creating jobs, driving innovation, and contributing to the US as an economic powerhouse. And such private companies contribute about 88% of US annual GDP. And the dot-com bubble was a rapid rise in US technology stock equity valuations fueled by investments in internet-based companies in the late 1990s. But it eventually burst in between 2001 and 2002, teaching valuable lessons to all. The 9/11 attacks on World Trade Center and the Pentagon in 2001 triggered economic shifts, shaping subsequent events and contributing to debates on defense spending. And today, the United States has the strongest military in the world. And to improve health system, the Affordable Care Act, commonly known as Obamacare, was signed into law by President Barack Obama in 2010. This law sets federal standards for health insurers offering products in both the individuals and small group markets. The shale revolution in the 2010s transformed the US into a major energy exporter. And the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 brought unprecedented challenges, emphasizing the need for resilience and innovation in the face of unforeseen crises. The widespread embrace of American culture globally also has become a powerful tool for the United States, offering diplomatic and economic advantages. From Hollywood movies to iconic brands, the influence of US culture shapes global preferences, fostering positive perceptions. This cultural soft power not only stimulates economic growth through the popularity of American products, but also attracts international talent and research collaborations. As countries strive to replicate the entrepreneurial spirit and innovation culture of the US, American business practices become benchmarks, enhancing competitiveness. In essence, the global appeal of American culture not only connects nations, but also contributes significantly to the US's enduring influence and strategic advantages. These events, from tech innovation to geopolitical conflicts and economic crises, collectively shaped the US into a powerful nation. While some events posed challenges, the nation's resilience, adaptability, and strategic responses contributed to its enduring strength and influence in the global arena. And today, with a GDP of about $25.44 trillion US, is the world's largest economy in this ranking. US have achieved a lot of success in the last decades. And today we all can see why the US is considered as a powerful nation.